is like hitting Commissioner Weaver on the head with the gavel. It's Commissioner Rothstein again. It's 1:33. I apologize for the short delay. We have a couple of topics we're going to discuss in open session this afternoon. One is dealing with the Harrison Leisure property, having a briefing by Mr. Liburn. And then afterwards, we'll be talking about our transportation priority letter with Ms. Eisenberg. First up, Jack, Mr. Liburn, are you there? I see you're there. And let's see if he'll come up. Jack? Oh, okay. I see the top of your head. There you go. Let's talk about the transfer of the Harrison Leisure property to Carroll County from the IDA. Go ahead, Jack.
Unmute, Jack.
You're muted. Still muted.
I can't hear you, Jack. You got to unmute. Check your gear.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
That's perfect.
The Harrison Leisure property was given to the IDA with a memorandum of understanding a little over 10 years ago, to be exact, 10 years and 2 months to develop. The memorandum of understanding said if it was not developed within 10 years, it would revert back to the county. And the IDA has voted not to develop their project and send it back to the county. So what I'm asking you, it's one of our premier, I guess, locations. It's about a 254 acre piece of property in a zone R40, and it's got great visibility on 27. It's about 5 miles away from I-70. So what I'm asking you to do as a board is to deem it surplus property, like you've done the other, I guess, 20 some properties, which, we've sold, for the county, Department of Economic Development. And we would do a request for a proposal and ask for solicitation bids for a master plan and a sketch to do that, which you'd have to declare it surplus. Then we could go out for proposals. I'd like to see, we've had 2 or 3 developers call us since the idea announced it a couple of weeks ago that they are interested in, talking to us about it. I'd like for us to put a, like I said, an RFP out, showing the master plan, giving a design sketch and everything, giving them 5 or 6 weeks to come back to us. And then we would bring the proposals to you on the 254 acres. And at that point, you can make a decision what to do with the property based on whatever RFPs that we do get back.
So, Jack, just to frame this discussion, the discussion right now is that the IDA, after their term of having the property, voted to provide it back to the county. This is really a briefing at this point. This further discussion on, the legality and the bond discussions, which we can move into, we'll be holding in closed at a later date. Right now, this is do we want to move forward with this piece of property as county property and you to continue to pursue opportunities for RFPs. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Okay, thanks. Anything from the commissioners at this point?
The legal language on the 10 years, this becomes automatic, or do we need a vote? How does the language of the original agreement work? We don't need to do anything and then we take ownership of it, or we have to do something?
The MOU.
Yeah, go ahead.
The MOU between the county and the IDA has a reversionary clause in it that indicated that the deed would be written also with that reversionary clause, reverting the property back to the county automatically after 10 years. So I think this is a briefing only. The IDA is informing you that they're in agreement to give the property back to the county.
And in fact, the MOU allows the IDA to give the property back to the county before that 10 years, correct? I mean, it just happens that this is the end of the MOU, the 10 years. Is that correct?
I'm not looking at it at the moment. It might, but it's sort of moot since we're after 10 years anyway.
Okay.
It
Okay,
says after 10 years, that would automatically come back to the county. The
Correct.
IDA at any time could, it is a separate entity. They could come back and say, we didn't want to develop it, but it's
right.
just so
That's what
happens.
yeah.
It's 10
that's
years
what
now. Yeah.
Right.
But it
That's what
automatically reverts back to the county.
Exactly. That's what I expected. Okay, Mr. Hushauer from Mount Airy Town Council has asked to join us and providing his thoughts, but also the town council and the mayor's thoughts on the situation dealing with the Harrison Glacier. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. Can you all hear me okay?
Ken, but I
See
just
and
have
hear
a,
you
I have a procedural question.
Oh.
If this
I
is just a,
apologize, Larry.
if this is just a briefing today to advise us that the IDA is giving it back to us,
That
then
is
why
correct.
are we expanding the conversation on what we're going to do with it? I thought this was just a briefing.
This is just a briefing, and it is informing us that Mr. Library and our economic development team will be pursuing, efforts to, deal with the Harrison Glacier property because it's now the county property. But there's really no decisions for us to be making on, what to do with the property right now. I mean,
Okay. So
That would-
that's
would
my
come into-
question.
right,
That's my question.
correct.
If today is just a briefing to advise that it's back in our hands,
Correct.
couldn't there be an agenda item in the future that talks about the what ifs? And today, I don't think is that day.
No,
Correct.
that's correct. That you're absolutely correct. It's informing us that the property is back into county hands from the IDA.
Okay, with all due respect to the town and the council, then, I'm not sure why we're hearing from them at this point.
Well, they asked to provide their thoughts and comments, knowing that it was transferred back from the IDA to the county. And in asking, they could either do it via public comment for 3 minutes, but providing them the courtesy, giving them time during this piece to voice their opinions if they have. That's all.
If I may, I just believe that there's some information that could influence a
I
decision. Down the
apologize,
road.
Larry. One second, or Mr. Hushar, I apologize. Yeah, Commissioner Wentz, anything else? I understand your concern. It's just,
Yeah, I just
they
think, I
asked
think,
and they asked.
okay,
and I-
if they ask, that's fine. So then you, as the president of this board,
Correct.
have made the decision that we are now going to enter into a conversation about what we're going to do with this property.
We are now going to listen to Mount Airy Council in hearing this from their last meeting, and I don't know any further than that, but it's just an opportunity to listen. This is a briefing and discussion, but no decisions should be being made at this point.
Okay, listen, I'm no disrespect here. I'm just confused about the process. I thought today was a briefing only, and that then we would then, at a later date, set an agenda item to discuss the what ifs of the property and what could occur and what the town wants and that kind of a thing. So if we're doing all that today, that's fine.
We're not doing all that today. What we're doing, what you just said, we will be doing at a later date. But timing wise, the town, Mount Airy, requested for us to listen to what they had to say when they were told that the property was being transitioned from the IDA to the county after the 10-year MOU allowed it to be with that big R word that Roberta used that I can't remember. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But it is not time to have a discussion on what we're going to be doing next. So, and you're right. I'm providing the professional courtesy to allow Mount Airy to, share their thoughts in hearing this, knowing that this briefing was going to occur.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Hushhour, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Larry Hushhour. I'm the council president of Mount Airy, and the statement that I'm about to read was drafted by myself and run through the staff and the council members. 4 of the 5 council members have expressed support of this statement. So after a decade of negotiating compromise, well testing, and legal coordination, in December 2019, the stars finally aligned, and the town, along with the IDA, hit high gear in accomplishing the Harrison-Lashir development project. Since then, despite COVID, we've had 5 meetings with the IDA, as well Commissioner Boucher, the mayor, and 2 council members met with county residents adjoining the property. Councilmember Munder presented PowerPoint presentations on the annexation at 2 council meetings to inform our residents that this was coming. The annexation resolution was introduced in August. The Planning Commission gave it a favorable recommendation in October. The annexation plan passed unanimously in January, and we set a date of March 23rd for a public hearing following county and state review of the plan. We still have the fire hall reserved, by the way. And we expected to have a council vote on this annexation in April. Imagine our surprise and disappointment when the IDA told us that they were stepping away from the annexation and derailing the entire project. Most disconcerting to us was the vote was held unannounced. We believed it was a discussion item on their January agenda to announce and talk about the March 23rd public hearing. We were not offered a chance to refute any of the IDA's concerns prior to this unannounced vote occurring. We have heard through the grapevine that the IDA felt the town would be too difficult to work with in the future. Also, they did not feel the town had endorsed the project with full enthusiasm. This despite 2 letters that I had personally wrote in a local paper that came as close to a positive endorsement as I could offer as an open-minded council member. Certainly you as elected officials understand the need to keep an open mind through public hearings. After all, why have a public hearing if the result is preordained? I also suspect the IDA was puzzled by our sincere concern for the county residents adjoining the Harrison-Lashir property. About 24 households were, are, and will continue to be very concerned about the development's impacts, especially to their wells. Perhaps our efforts to facilitate responses to their questions left the members of the IDA feeling we were uncommitted to the project. Truly, all we desired from the IDA was sincere consideration and responses, even if the answers were not favorable to those who were asking the questions. The IDA is not viewed by Mount Airy as the bad guy trying to facilitate the ruination of our small town. I certainly view them as who and what they are. A group of 5 appointed volunteers serving as an arm of the county government, chartered to encourage a balanced economy in Carroll County by completing sensible development projects in given areas. Certainly you as elected officials know that the word development raises the hair on the necks of most residents in a small town. It would be very unrealistic to expect streamers and confetti when development of any type is announced. I was not a council member when this loaf of bread was put in the oven a decade ago. None of us who are currently serving on the council were. But the more I've learned about the IDA and how they function within the county, the more confident I have become that if Harrison-Lashir is to be developed, I want the IDA to be Mount Airy's partner in that development. I know the IDA will not try to reach for more than we have spent a decade agreeing to. And I also know the benefits will far outweigh the impacts on this project. In closing, what Mount Airy is asking of you, the commissioners, is to not take the Harrison-Lashir deeds back from the IDA. Please extend any timelines if necessary. Though we know the IDA operates with a lot of independence, they are still a component of Carroll County government, and its members are appointed by you, the commissioners. The town of Mount Airy is asking you to exercise your dutiful influence on the IDA and ask them to finish the job. The IDA needs to see this through the public hearing and the subsequent council vote. And if passed, then we will be partners committed in fulfilling the office park on Harrison LaShire that's been planned for the last decade. And you as commissioners will have followed through on your county's comprehensive plan and permitted Mount Airy to follow through on our master plan. That's the end of my statement, and I thank you for your consideration. I believe that 3 of our council members will be sending you emails to confirm that they support this statement. Thank you.
Council President Hushhour, I
And
appreciate
this
this
is
word.
not-
Thank you.
One second, Commissioner Boucher. I appreciate coming on as you were invited to do so and provide your comments. This is not, as I shared, a debate or further discussion. This is a recognition and a briefing from our economic development team that the IDA had made the decision in accordance with the MOU to bring back the property to the county. The IDA is not the arm or an arm of our county government. So I do want to make that one correction. But so this is not any more than where we're at right now. The discussion that you may want to continue to have is with the IDA on their druthers in dealing with the property. It was their decision to bring back the property to the county. And I'll just leave it at that. Further comments from our commissioners? Commissioner Boucher, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just expressing my appreciation to the town council president for representing the community and coming forward and expressing their concern to us. Councilman Hushhour, thank you very much.
I truly appreciate your time, and I know that that you didn't have to give it to me. So thank you so much.
It's the right thing to do, and I appreciate you coming on and providing your insight and thoughts. So thank you. With that, Jack, is there any further discussion you want to provide or comments?
Well, I guess I need direction. The IDA has declared that they are not going to develop this piece of property and they're giving it back to the county. As the director of economic development, this is a great piece of property, and I guess I'd like to be able to put it out with an RFP just to get the request back and see what developers, what they want to do with the property and, design and sketch. And we can talk about it, you can talk about it later once we get, but eventually I wonder if that's possible, Commissioner Wance, if you were to put an RFP out now to see what, we can get back from developers to do with their piece of property.
Jack, I believe that's premature at this point. I think that.
Okay, I'm just asking, that's.
I think understanding the value of the property now that's part of the county, and what options would be presented moving forward, and then your recommendation on then moving forward with the property, we'll be able to say to put it out to RFP or what the next step should be. But I mean, this was more of an informative opportunity for you to come to us and say the property is now been transitioned from the IDA to the county. There are other things that need to be discussed, and they will be discussed, I expect, in closed session, dealing with bond issues and legal issues dealing with this property, but that's for a later date. This is just informative at this point.
I understand.
If I could, I would like, since we heard from the town, and I don't want to do it today, but I would like maybe in the future meeting to hear from the IDA what their perspective of this is before we do anything else. I just like to hear, they've been working with this for a while. I just like to hear what their opinion of this is, and just as an informational kind of thing, and then we don't have to do anything with it. Excuse me. Before we take any other steps, I'd like to hear from the IDA.
Their opinion in past context of how over the last 10 years dealing with the property, not their opinion on moving forward because they don't have
Exactly. Their opinion on dealing with the property and I just like to hear from them since they've been dealing with this for 10 years. I think that would be a good perspective.
Okay,
I have to agree with Commissioner Frazier. I would thought that someone from that board would be here in front of us today. Also wondering, whoever takes control of this property in the future could potentially petition the town for annexation as well, right? That option would still be out there potentially for whoever buys this property. It's not like that door will be permanently closed.
right now, the property is about 256 acres, zoned R40, been transitioned in accordance with the MOU from the IDA to the county, and that's where we're at right now. Next step is to understand the value of the property, the options that the property can provide. And like Commissioner Frazier said, learning from the past, what the IDA has provided over 10 years in their experiences. Jack, you then coming forward with recommendations where we can make a decision in the next steps. Okay? Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense? Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Comments on this? Again, Mr. Hushar, thank you for coming on. Okay, let's move on to planning and the CTP, Consolidated Transportation Priority List, with Ms. Linda and Ms. Mary, Ms. Eisenberg and Ms. Lane.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Actually, if you can share the screen with Mary and not me controlling, that would be great. So today we're here before you for our annual discussion on the Consolidated Transportation Plans Priority Letter. As you know, this letter is sent annually to Maryland Department of Transportation Secretary. It has the list of Carroll County priorities for state roads projects. We've been proposing the same suite of road improvements over the last several years, and we've made great strides on many of our projects within Carroll County. So today, Mary Lane is going to present to you the projects that are in the letter and changes from discussions that we've had with the board over the past year that will be updated in the letter, and then any future direction that you all would like to take for this. The idea and goal is to have this letter drafted in March for your final review, and then work with our legislative representative, Mike Fowler, to get this signed by the delegation as we do every year, so that way we have their full support, and then we will submit this letter in April to MDOT. So with that, I'm gonna have Mary Lane present to you this year's start of the letter. Mary?
Good afternoon. As Linda said, we're here today to introduce to you the topic of the Consolidated Transportation County Priority Letter. As you will recall, this is an annual letter that is required from the commissioners, setting forth the county's top priorities for the state CTP. The purpose of this presentation, which is just the introduction, it's probably the first of three, is to review the process for you, give you the highlights of last year's letter, any proposed changes that we have identified, which you'll see in red, the timing and next steps, and then any questions and answers. So as a reminder, the priority letter includes the top state transportation priorities that are state highways and roads, streetscape improvements, county trails, and transit. We began working with the county agencies as other county agencies, as we do every year, Public Works, Economic Development, Rec and Parks, in January. Then you will review and approve the letter in February and March. The county submits the letter to the state by April 1st. The county tour occurs in the fall, where the draft CTP is distributed, and then the legislature approves the CTP from the prior year in April. So this is a review of last year's letter. We did have 4 priority projects. 3 of them had been in a number of the previous priority letters. Maryland 32 from 26 South to the Carroll County line. That project is about 7 miles. Maryland 97 from Bachman's Valley Road to Maryland 140 in Westminster. That is about 4.7 miles. Maryland 26 from 32 east to the reservoir, which is about 4 miles. And for the first time last year, we included as the 4th priority, Maryland 140 corridor improvements from the county line to Kays Mill. The first project, which has been the #1 priority for a number of years, is Maryland 32 from Maryland 26 South to the Carroll County line. This project is to widen the roadway from 2 to 4 lanes, including pedestrian facilities and other amenities at appropriate locations within the corridor. In 2018, you reviewed a completed MDOT planning and environmental linkages study, which identified potential improvement concepts to address identified needs in specific locations. So last year, what we had was 2 breakout projects. The first one is a breakout project for engineering design from Piney Ridge Parkway and Macbeth Way to north of Springfield Avenue. And then the second breakout project was for design funding 2nd Street to Main Street. And here's a map, hopefully it's clear enough, of the project boundaries. The second priority is Maryland 97, Bachmans Valley Road to 140 in Westminster. This project scope is to widen the roadway from 3 to 5 lanes with an interchange at Meadow Branch Road and pedestrian facilities. You will recall that there was a phase 1 breakout project that was completed for safety and resurfacing improvements on 0.64 miles from south of Airport Drive, Magna Way, to just north of Pleasant Valley. That is now complete and has been removed from the letter. We have 2 additional possibilities for this year's letter to talk about. The first is a request for a feasibility study for this project, which has not been completed, and construction funds for this entire project could not be included in the CTP until a feasibility study is completed, as well as DPW has recommended that we begin asking for land acquisition for the remaining portion of the project.
Hey, Mary, I
Yes.
apologize. Going back to 32, Macbeth to Main Street or Main Street to Macbeth is complete. That's the in front of the National Guard Readiness Center.
No, this is, I'm sorry, which one? The Main
Macbeth
Street?
Main Street?
No, this is a longer project. This would connect to what has been complete from just south of 26. So there's 2 complete sections, and this would add to that. I don't have a detailed map. I can bring one for next time, but no, that breakout project is not yet complete.
So it's north. Okay. Okay. If it's not that breakout and it's got a
It is
tie
not
into-
that breakout.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Right, it's going to tie into that, correct. So here's the map of the entirety of the 97 project that goes from Bachman Valley Road down to 140. The third priority has been Maryland 26 from 32 East to the Liberty Reservoir. In prior years, this project scope was to widen the roadway from 4 to 6 lanes. I'm sorry, on that one, from 4 to 6 lanes. You'll recall that last summer in July, SHA completed the Maryland 26 corridor study analysis and targeted improvement recommendations. The purpose of this study was to find ways to revise the design to a new practical approach. And rather than complete widening to 6 lanes, improvements will consist of more limited breakout projects that focus primarily on enhancing the safety of the corridor. This may be achieved through the extension of auxiliary lanes, increased signalization, and a center median in certain segments of the road, which have been identified as critical to the safe and efficient functioning of the entire corridor. So through further analysis and collaboration with SHA staff, breakout projects will be identified and prioritized.
You know, I'll tell you, that's very much appreciated. I know SHA is working with us on that piece, but there is a lot of concern, especially with the elderly communities that feed into 26 east of 32. So putting medians in there, getting rid of those suicide lanes is really going to, I think, help out a lot. It's just a very congested area, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon. So appreciate the work being done.
And here's a map of the scope of that project. So the last of the priority projects which was added for the first time last year was Maryland 140 corridor improvements from the county line to Kays Mill. These improvements ultimately would include a 4-lane divided highway, a full interchange at Maryland 91 with an additional auxiliary lane east of Maryland 91 and access management improvements. An initial breakout project was requested last year for design funding for this intersection, following the recent completion last year of a concept study to evaluate a jug handle type design for westbound traffic. And again, here's the scope of that project. We also have and continue to have 2 urban sorry. I'm sorry, I was getting some feedback. We have 2 urban reconstruction streetscape projects that have been in for a number of years in priority. Currently, it is Maryland 31 and New Windsor Main Street from High Street to Church Street, Co Drive to Main Street. You can see on the map how that works. And then the second one is Sykesville, Maryland 851 Main Street, Springfield Avenue, which is Cooper Drive to South Branch of the Patapsco River. It has been suggested through conversations with SHA staff that we possibly change the ranking of these 2 projects because of some of the issues going on within the towns and the collaboration between the state and the towns on this project. So the first project will include improvements to sidewalks, enhancement to bicycle and pedestrian accessibility, as well as roadway improvements. This project would be coordinated with the replacement of water lines by the town, and this is ongoing. And that is the scope of that project. And second, in Sykesville, the concept has been completed for this project, but it is not currently funded for design. Of note is that Maryland 851 is currently getting a road classification upgrade from local to major collector to now make it more competitive for federal money, which Linda can talk about a little bit more if you wish. It's happening, I believe, at BMC with the BRTB.
Yeah, actually, that
and
was
then
on Friday that we did get the reclassification for Maryland 851 to a major collector. And on either side, eastbound and westbound of 851 is already considered a major collector. It was just that small, like half-mile stretch within the town of Sykesville where it was actually downgraded to a local. So it made sense to have the whole segment continually have the same classification and not have that change. So that will go a long way. This is an MDOT request. They worked through me and the town of Sykesville to get everyone's concurrency, and the executive board for the BRTB approved it on Friday. Sorry, thank you, Mary.
No, that's fantastic news. And will that allow for, it's going to bring more attention to Main Street 851, will allow for more funding, especially dealing with the, under 851, the storm, the drainage replacement that I see on the bottom. It's going to allow for funding?
I think it makes them more competitive for federal funding. So that's my understanding from working with MDOT and SHA staff.
Got it. Thank you.
And then we also wanted to point out in this year's letter, a possible breakout project to get this jump started a little bit more to address the storm drain replacement issues first, which have been ongoing. That is the boundaries of that project. So regarding transit, as with every year, the request will be identical to the ATP request for FY22, which includes 4 replacement buses, continued funding for preventative maintenance, funding for major repair. And that we got that from Stacy Nash.
Just a quick question on that one. The 4 replacement buses, I know right now they don't have electric buses in the size that we use. However, it might start asking for some electric buses, 4 replacement, if we could get 1 or 2 electric, which they don't have, but put it on the radar so you know that we're interested in moving in that direction.
Okay, we can add that.
You might want to include the associated infrastructure with that, because it's going to require some changes out at the out at the facility.
Well, I'm having some talks with BG&E to see what we could do to partner with that. And when I get more information, because they don't even have the buses our size yet. So I'm just trying to get ducks in a row right now. But I do understand what you're saying. So tomorrow I'm having a discussion with someone from BG&E about that. Hopefully they might even fund it for us. You never know. I'm not holding my breath on that part, but we'll see.
Okay, there are also bicycle, pedestrian, and trail projects. There are two of them in last year's priority letter. The first one that you're very familiar with is the Governor Frank Brown Trail, which formerly was known as the Freedom Area Trail Network. It will link parks, residential developments, commercial areas, and communities, including Eldersburg and the town of Sykesville. Future trail phase design remains on hold due to security concerns with the Readiness Center at Springfield Hospital property. And in speaking with Jeff Deggets, this is ongoing. He does not have a resolution in sight to this problem. And he talked about the possible deletion from the letter pending resolution of the location issues. And that would be up to the commissioners. Could leave it in though, and keep pointing out that that is an issue that we need to have resolved. But at this point, he doesn't see any progress being made in that.
But my recommendation is to keep it in and continue to work with the Army National Guard, both state and federal. We're talking about a property outside their fence line on the east side of their property. Now that their property is complete, the Readiness Center is complete, I think they can make a better educated decision on the trail before it was all pending. But right now, I think we still should keep it and work with them to see if we can make this happen.
I'm all for keeping this in, as it has been on our letter for quite some time, but because of the local problems, maybe switch it to number 2 and put the Westminster Community Trail number 1. That way, it's still in the letter. We're still looking at it, but we realize they have these local problems coming up right now, and it's so just take into consideration what's happening.
I completely agree with that. Governor Frank Brown Trail has been on this letter for all of the 6 years that we've been sitting here, and nothing has occurred. However, there has been some progress with the Westminster Community Trail. I think you've got a great idea, Dennis. I think the two should be flipped, and I don't know if that has a lot of credence down there if we flip them. But that Governor Frank Brown Trail is a problem, and it's not just the Readiness Center; it's a lot of other issues down there as well. So, but the Community Westminster Trails, that one's almost ready to roll, and portions of it are pretty good.
Commissioner Wayne, since I love history, did you know the connection or anything between Governor Frank Brown for this trail? I mean, why is it named that? Was he a Carroll County citizen?
No, it's because the Freedom Trail, actually the exact same name as the Freedom Trail in Boston. So there was a trademarking issue, so it had to be renamed. To be honest, I'm not sure the origination of the Governor Frank Brown portion, but that's why it was renamed from the Freedom Trail.
Well,
It would be nice to honor this governor and we have some sort of plaque or something that have connection to it.
he's the only governor from Carroll County in the state that the state's ever had, and he was from Sykesville.
There you
That's
go.
wonderful, and I'd love to see if we can memorialize that.
Well, let's see if we can get the trail complete and then memorialize it, because we don't want to memorialize him if we break down the trail. But yeah, I agree with you. But I do, I agree. Let's flip those projects. Don't know if it, like you said, Commissioner Wance, if it's going to make any bit of a difference, but you're right. Let's keep the momentum going with the Westminster Community Trail. I just want one more bite at the apple for the Frank Brown Trail. And now that, again, the Readiness Center is to a point where that fence line's done and it's complete, I want a hard yes or no. Last time I talked with DGS, it was still a hard maybe. So let me keep trying to work that one.
And Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, that Westminster Community Trail, that's almost done, isn't it? I mean,
There, in the feedback I got from Jeff, there's a few things going on right now that are slowing it down, but yes, it's got the momentum to get
Okay.
done.
Okay, thanks.
And I can, if you want to, when we come back, I could have Jeff here and give you more of an update on that, if you would like.
Yeah, that's fine, just to make sure, because I think there's certain sections of that yet that need to be completed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I will
okay,
ask him to join us next time.
cool, thanks.
Okay, in the letter last year, you had one additional concern, as you'll recall, at the end of the letter, after the main priorities and the other issues. You've often pointed out things you would like the secretary to be aware of, and last year's request included future discussion of Maryland 140 from Sullivan Road to Market Street, to widen it from 6 to 8 lanes with a full interchange at Maryland 97 and continuous flow intersections at Center Street and Engler Road, including pedestrian facilities. Again, this was not included as one of your top priorities, but it was noted. Since that time, in putting this new letter together, we're remembering that over the past year, you've mentioned several concerns. The first one was Maryland 31 at Medford Road safety concerns, as well as a study of Maryland 26 west of 32 to Johnsville. And that came up during your discussion of the rest of the Maryland 26 study when the state brought it to you. So we were wondering if you would like those concerns included in the letter this year.
Yeah, I think they should be included. As a matter of fact, I suggest that we make Maryland 31 in Medford one of our priorities. Get it off additional concerns and put it on as a priority. That's it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but good grief, it's time to do something over there.
Yeah,
And
I'll back you up on that.
And I would suggest that we put it above 97 from Magnet at Bachman, because that ain't going to happen.
So Commissioner Wance, I think what we can do would be similar to what we've done on 27 and work with SHA for the appropriate placement. I think we may have a better chance of getting funding for this through their safety enhancement pool of money, because it's a smaller project than a huge capacity enhancing project. And the safety projects tend to move a little bit quicker through the process. So we're going to reach out to State Highway and talk with them about the best ways to incorporate these to make sure we can move these two projects forward. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair, but I would entertain that if we've got it both as a safety concern and an item high on our priority list on our CTP, couldn't hurt coming at them with a double shot there.
Okay, absolutely.
I was gonna say additionally on that Maryland 31 Medford, a few years ago, we set some money aside to help a project like this, since this is a smaller project. I don't know how much money we have left in that particular fund, but that light we got down on, I can't remember what road that's on now, but
Gillis
down by
Fall.
the middle school area.
Gillis Falls.
Yeah, Gillis Falls. We put a couple $100,000 into that and it got it moved pretty quickly. I think we have a couple $100,000 in that fund. I'm not sure. We have to check. But we could say, this is a safety concern. We have this money. We'll prime the pump with this money if you guys can come along and fix this, because it's not a 4-mile road or something like that. It's just this one intersection needs to be looked at. That might be another way to look at it, to try to get it done a little quicker.
Yeah, I'm good with that too, Dennis. I think that's a good idea, but I still think we should move it from additional concerns over to a priority, but still go at it from a safety standpoint as well. I agree, Linda. I just think it would be better to give them the double hit on that one.
There's approximately $100,000 still there, by the way.
It's a great start.
That'll get weed control in through there.
Okay, we'll make that addition to the letter. So as far as next steps, based on today's input, we'll finish preparation of the letter.
One second. Go back to that last slide. The study of Maryland 26 west of 32 to Johnsville. I'm not sure what that study is. The concern was the intersection of 32 and Johnsville. But the 26 to Johnsville, I mean, from 32, you're talking a quarter mile, half mile, which is nothing. It's just a straight road with Salerno's on it and a couple other stores. The concern, probably when I brought it up, had to do with that specific intersection. And on 26 in Johnsville. So similar to the 32 and Bennett Johnsville intersection that's being addressed right now. So.
Okay, I'll make that change.
And
Um,
Mary,
again- yeah.
on that last slide, sorry, maybe you can get an update. But I've been asking for 4 years now, and I even had a couple legislators involved. 140 in Mayberry, a turn lane put in for the Runnymede Elementary School. Every time we bring it up, yeah, we're looking at it. Is there a way that we could maybe list it on here as a concern that maybe could get it a little bit more influence to the SHA, and or maybe get an update? Maybe it's in the design phase or something. I can't remember what Greg's Secretary Slater said to us the last time, but maybe it's time to list it on here.
I think Linda, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you have an update on that from your conversation with Terry Seuss?
I don't believe we discussed that, but I will reach out
Okay, I'm
to
sorry.
see what their thoughts are on this intersection.
Yeah, if it's not in the queue, Linda and Mary, we may want to put it on here because SHA is very statistic driven, and Medford and 31 and Mayberry and 140 are right there both together with the number of accidents that have occurred there over the last 2 to 3 years.
I think Mary might have froze on us. But yes, I'm actually reaching out to Terry now. I'll send her an email. And then finally, just based on today's discussion, we're going to finish doing the preparation of the letter. Then we'll come back and present the letter for further discussion and get your approval on the letter. Then our final step would be to get signatures of the delegation in support of the letter and transmit it to the Secretary of NDOT. So once we answer some of these questions and reformat the letter based on today's discussion, we will send that to your office for your review, and we'll schedule time to meet again to discuss the letter, make sure it's where you would like it to be before moving forward. So probably in a few weeks, we will be back before you.
Okay, is there any, go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry.
No, that's all we have for you. So if there's any questions or anything else that you'd like from us, we're happy to work on it.
Ms. Eisenberg, I wanted to thank you for talking about the Medford Road and the different options we have to try to be successful at that. It's a big concern of all of us. So any avenue you can exploit to make it happen, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will get right on that. All right. Well, thank you all for your time today, and we'll be back before you in the next few weeks.
Okay, great, Linda and Mary. Thank you so much for the work. Any further discussion from my colleagues? We have callers, I believe, on the line for open admin or for, what's that, for public comment? Go ahead.
Sure. First caller, caller 12, please identify yourself. You'll have 3 minutes for public comment.
Caller 12?
Yes, can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, is that me?
Yes.
And I
Okay,
apologize.
I didn't know which caller I was. I'm sorry.
That's-
My name's
before
Diane Purdy.
Before you start,
Uh-huh.
just real quick, again, as Commissioner Rothstein, those that have not given public comment prior, just to share, it's an opportunity for you to share your thoughts in a few minutes, for us to have the opportunity to listen. If there are questions or concerns and you want us to get back to you, we will be responsive in getting back to you at a later time, but it is not intended for a back and forth or dialogue. So with that said, please continue.
All right, thank you. My name is Diane Perney. I got to take me off speed. And I live in Mount Airy off Butler Road. I've been living in this area for over 25 years. I moved here for the rural feel and the small town atmosphere that we have here in Carroll County. And thank you for letting me talk on this beautiful snowy day. I support the decision of the IDA to pull out of the Harrison-Lashire annexation process. Building an enormous office park accommodating up to 38 buildings is not a solid business decision in this economy. The pandemic has changed the way we physically do business now and into the future. Businesses are shifting to working from home and physical offices are becoming a thing of the past. The town of Mount Airy is interested in accessing the water on that land and getting a small parcel for a park. They're not interested in how it will affect the property values of those of us along the corridor. I believe the property may be declared surplus county land, and that county may solicit for public sale and development of this property. Although I understand that 250 plus acres, less than 5 miles from Route 70, seem to be prime land for development, please consider that the residents living near this property have been here for decades. And we were assured that the land could only be developed for residential use. The current zoning is still split between residential and conservation zoning. Any developer will have to go through a piecemeal rezoning, and the criteria for piecemeal rezoning is a finding that a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood, which this property does not meet, or a mistake in the existing zoning classification. Currently, the only way that the second finding could be met is because the county's general plan was recently changed to identify the property into the town's growth boundary and the future land use as village commercial industrial only because the bath the county took on the settlement of this land and ongoing negotiations between the town. However, in a court of law, it begs the question why the county did not comprehensively rezone the property this year to match the general plan to cover their bases. How can you claim a mistake when you did not make an effort to fix such an error during the comprehensive zoning? Let's see. Please don't try to recoup the money that the county has spent on the lawsuit for this parcel of land. That should not be a factor in the county's decision to decide to try to change the zoning or land usage. The mistake that led to that lawsuit was not the county's citizens' fault, but was bad decisions made in the past. We would like the citizens here who live along this land for you to think about looking at other options for this land, and I hear that you will do that. That made me very happy. When we look at traffic in 27 here beside us, a development of this sort will be it would just create daily gridlock on this road, making it a nightmare to travel up and down, not only for the citizens of Mount Airy, but for anybody trying to get south of Carroll County. And I heard the CTP priorities. There's nothing about 27 in those priorities. I would ask that moving forward, the commissioners proactively set up meetings with the county and town residents living in 21771 to vision for the future of this county-owned property together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Okay, next caller, you've been unmuted. Please identify yourself and you will have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, this is Joanne Blundy. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
We can.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, my name is Joe Grundy, and I'm a homeowner in the Freedom community, and I've lived here for over 20 years. Hopefully, you received my fact sheet sent by Commissioner Rothstein last week regarding the decision to reallocate priority sewer connection during development of the 2018 Freedom plan, Commissioner Rothstein suggested this fact sheet to help summarize this issue, which was also discussed at the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I believe Commissioner Lance heard my public comment. I sent this fact sheet to him on February 1st. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I didn't make the meeting last week. I didn't realize it was in the morning and I was during work hours. You should have also been copied on letters to and from the FDCA on this important issue. That's the Freedom District Citizens Association in the last month or so. The fact sheet, I don't know those of you that have it in front of you. Some of you are probably familiar with my concerns from some previous letters and such. During our own trying experience trying to sell our home of 16 years in 2018, I've become more involved in community planning and septic oversight at the state level. Just you can read the fact sheet. It's just a one-pager. It gets to the big point. This all came about because our house was built in 1950, had its original septic system. We were the second owners. It's in the priority funding area, and due to current standards, it will no longer pass inspection. We didn't realize that. There's no laws or regs, but the septic industry has determined that it's not acceptable. We really had a hard time trying to even remedy the situation because it's on a very small lot with constraints such as neighboring wells, our own well, limited replacement areas for a new system. And then we learned during this time that our home was in the priority area for public sewer connection. We didn't even realize it was, but we were told the following week that it was going to be removed and put into a new category created by Planning Division called long range, which we were told means not in our lifetime. During the next few months, I learned 3 other homes in our neighborhood, which were all previously priority sewer, in the 2014 master plan, the previous water sewer plan, had their systems truly failed during the wettest year on record. One family along Green Valley Way had their system fail, and they had to relocate for 9 months until they could have it fixed. And they had to take out a second mortgage to pay for the new system, which cost nearly $50,000. Their neighbor's system failed as well, and they could not afford to fix it. It's likely still failing. They've limited plumbing use and so forth. Another neighbor on the opposite side of Route 26 also had a failing system. Theirs was a newer system with the best available technology tank, but the groundwater levels were raised up. Our home and the majority of the others on our street are still on their original system, built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s prior to septic regulations. They're surrounded by public sewer. Several older properties in the Freedom priority funding area, including Commissioner Rothstein's home, were connected over the years. New development was built right behind our home in 2002, which was the time to add the transmission lines necessary for connecting to public sewer. For whatever reason, this was forgotten. Several undeveloped properties now are in the priority sewer area, some of these outside of the PSA. Several of these are up for rezoning to higher densities due to their recent designation as priority sewer areas.
Hey, Joanne, please wrap up your thoughts.
Okay. We have limited sewer infrastructure in the Freedom area. Once this is reallocated to new development, it's not going to come back. These are on small lot systems that are over 40 years old. If you live in an older home that's on a public system, it probably wasn't built with that system. We're having issues with our community with overdevelopment, overcrowded schools, traffic congestion. This is all tied to that. No public outreach has ever been done to even let people know they were in priority sewer, that they could connect, the reasons why they may want to. There is funding available through the Bay Restoration Fund, $20,000 per homeowner. There's low interest loans available for larger capital projects. I'm not sure why the county has not put this in a priority funding situation. It is in the PFA. And I have been talking about this for years, and I did reach out to Commissioner Rothstein. I'm trying to sort out the chain of command as far as amending the 2018 Freedom Comprehensive Plan and the water.
Hey, Joanne, we're going to have to move on.
Okay, I'd like another minute. I know you told me you could give me a little bit more time.
And I have, but please finish.
The last thing I want to say is I would like to have a dialogue, some good discussion. I have a background in environmental planning, watershed planning, construction, and engineering. I really would like to see this issue be taken seriously. Thank you for your time.
Okay, absolutely. And we did receive the fact sheet. And as asked, I did pass that along to my colleagues as well with Ms. Eisenberg. So I'm sure we'll be getting back with you. Okay, next caller.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
First, just if I could be allowed a little leeway, I'm a disabled veteran and sometimes stutter or stop talking. My name is Aaron. I live on Sunshine Way, and I apologize I didn't make this morning's meeting as that was the topic of the discussion was the traffic calming. I just kind of wanted to put my 2 cents worth in. The proposed plan for the bump outs and concrete barriers and stuff, I understood was kind of put on hold pending a possible 2 years until reevaluation or discussion could be made. And I know some of the neighbors came around asking, the different options for the stop signs and whatnot. I had a few concerns I wanted to voice. First being, if we did go with the concrete traffic calming, what kind of increases to property would include? Because I'm sure with anything that's done inside of a neighborhood, it always increases the property values or changes it. And if that would be a permanent increase or if it'd be a temporary increase. I've never really seen a property taxes going down before, so I kind of have my thoughts on that. My other kind of last little thing, I guess, would be to ask if the average cost of a stop sign is probably anywhere installed between $150 to $200. And it's a lot less permanent than, embedding concrete into the existing stuff that's there. If it would be feasible or even something we could sit down and talk about or have further discussion on, that the stop signs be used as a temporary fix, so to say, and we, after a 2-year period, like the decision on the calming proposal was, we reevaluate or test, what's been happening on the road for that time period. I think that would be a nice negotiating split down the center because, okay, fine, if the stop signs did absolutely nothing and speeding increased and God forbid a death of someone, they're a lot easier to remove. It's a lot easier. It's less damage to emergency personnel, vehicles and stuff. They're pretty likely to have to mostly jump over and drive over some of the obstructions that are put in the road. And then I was just watching your earlier, I was just watching this meeting and y'all were talking of a plan of widening 140 starting at Sullivan Road and going on out. That there will even further increase traffic coming along down Sullivan onto Sunshine Way, which of course will increase the traffic flow and a number of other problems. So I was just kind of thinking that I would present that to y'all. Hopefully, possibly willing to sit down to discuss it more.
Sir, I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Do we have any other callers?
That's it for callers.
Okay. Anything for open admin for the good of the group for a second time? Do I have a motion to adjourn? No motion to adjourn? let me rephrase that. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Never mind.
I mean, if we all want to stay here, that's fine. Okay, I got a motion, I got a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing and hearing none, we're adjourned.